All right, well, welcome back. It was a fun little past couple of minutes in the green room there. Wish, a lot of people could see those moments, but also it's the green room for a reason. So, hey,
It was
welcome
totally
back
inappropriate.
to welcome back to
What
the
everybody was
title.
talking about when I popped in here.
Oh, excuse me. We have Cody Willard, as always, with us, or almost always with us, who actually hosted last week. How'd that go, sir?
I did host by myself. Bryce didn't even host. I hosted, and we pulled it off. The reason, by the way, the week before that we were not able to share my screen from an iPhone is because StreamYard does not have the technology to allow you to share your phone.
Oh.
So the only way you can do it is to put your phone on your computer with QuickTime and then share your QuickTime from your computer screen. But I figured it out in real time for everybody last week. Showed them how to buy on MetaMask. Next, though, we realized we now need to show people how to go to Binance and send Ethereum or another token that is actually more frequently traded than SKTLs to their MetaMask. But we won't do that today. We got some other good topics that we want to hit today.
Hey, Cody, I watched, I wasn't on last week, as you know, but I did watch. And so when I go into MetaMask, I can simply purchase straight into MetaMask and then do a swap right there in MetaMask. I mean, you're going into Pancake.
I didn't know that. Back when a year ago, you couldn't do that. You had to send something from your Binance or Coinbase to MetaMask. But now
the way I do it is
I can actually buy Ethereum or Bitcoin in MetaMask and then immediately transfer that in.
Immediately swap
that for SKTLs.
Yeah, you can take $50 from your your bank account, put it right into MetaMask, and buy BNB.
So then we're done. I don't need to show anybody shit now.
Yeah, if you can do it that way, that's in my mind that's the easiest way to do it.
The only thing,
or anything,
you're paying for convenience there because
the only thing
MetaMask swaps tend to be pretty expensive.
Is really setting up the Binance Smart Chain. You need to basically set up the network. You need to pick, from the network. You need to pick.
Oh, that was the only thing I did not show was you have to
Smart Chain network.
That's right. There's several different.
Correct. That's
like you can do.
That's
Ethereum,
the main thing.
You can do Binance. You can do several different smart chain networks, and our token exists on smart chain Binance. But that also is pretty darn easy for anybody who does crypto at all. So, we'll do.
I mean, I noticed.
In a month, at the end of the summer. At the end of the summer, we'll sit down and go through how to do it again. We'll show everybody.
Yeah, we did point out that the information to set up the network is on the website, SKTLs network website.
SKTLS.com for those of you at home. We'll throw it in the chat. SKTLS.com. And it's our very famous website. I have a quick green room story while we're on the topic of green rooms. I know I'm going back, but I wanted to squeeze it in there before we changed. So one day I was going to be on Fox News for an appearance, and while I'm waiting in the green room, Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, is sitting next to me. He's about to go on before I am. And while I'm sitting there and we start talking, he's been on my show a couple of times, so I know him. I've chatted with him before. And they had just agreed to a new stadium. The state of New Jersey and New York, I think, both were kicking in, hundreds of millions of dollars of welfare money for his billionaire family to have a free welfare stadium for his free welfare football team. And that might have been what I started talking about a little bit. So I started being like, dude, you still owe the state of New Jersey $300 million for the stadium that they built for you 18 years ago, which now isn't good enough for you. And now we got to, and he went on the episode on the show, and I guess he was totally flustered. And then when he was done, he called my boss and he was like, what are you doing letting someone give me a hard time about my welfare stadium in the green room before I go on your show? That was probably the single biggest trouble I ever got in on Fox or the green room. So anyway.
All right.
Yeah. Well,
Rumor has it that Robert Kraft, owner of the Patriots, is buying land in Ruidoso, New Mexico, and putting up a house. I have not confirmed it yet, but it's Sure does
He's gonna
seem
buy
big,
New Mexico.
big buzz down here. That just, by the way, anybody, I don't know if you guys know this, but Dan Geraci is like really good friends with Robert Kraft. Small world.
He's gonna buy the state and change the name to New England.
I don't think people in New Mexico are going to be okay with that.
Well,
Some of them will be, but most of us, true New Mexico, by the way, is everything south, Albuquerque and everything south, Santa Fe and everything north. Like, it's all, might as well be East Coast anyway. You can call that New England. I don't care. But down here, we got real
Southern Colorado. Either way.
Anyway, all right, let's do some space and crypto. Kabani, you want to do space or crypto first? You always guide us on this part.
What would you like to talk about crypto first?
Okay, space.
Space
All right.
it is.
Space it is.
Now, actually, here's something. Bryce and I have been working hard on Robinhood and researching the fintech space and trying to get our heads wrapped around, not from everything from, and this is all related to crypto in many ways, right? One of the reasons that crypto is so promising is because it can live in a digital wallet with almost zero transactional costs to send money back and forth to each other or to corporations. In typical world, normal world, I pay Bryce, he deposits that money into a bank like Wells Fargo or Citigroup or whatever, and then it sits in an account there. And then if he wants to Venmo somebody, he has to pull that money out of a bank account, go through, unless you end up leaving your money in the Venmo app, but then you're not making any interest and it's not FDIC guaranteed. Coinbase is an exchange, but it is not a registered broker dealer. Robinhood is an exchange. No, it's not an exchange, but it is a broker dealer. You can buy cryptocurrency on both Robinhood and Coinbase, but never the twain shall meet. I mean, it's fascinating when you really start going down the rabbit hole of fintech and trying to pinpoint where the money comes and goes and who's getting their 20 bips to 250 bips, 2.5 to 3% every time you move money through a Visa card to buy lunch. And there's a lot of slippage of your money in real world transactions.
That's where all the money's made.
And at first, Bryce and I started this research off today, and one of the things he had said in passing was, I should have bought that Visa years ago. The Visa and MasterCard are never going anywhere. And then about 15 minutes later, as we were down the rabbit hole and researching all of this, I was like, Bryce, what I need you to do is, can you put together a chart either on our whiteboard or on you guys, by the way, ever seen the Remarkable? Very cool little writing tablet.
Oh, I love it. I have one.
Yeah, Bryce is addicted to it. My wife is addicted to it, so I just got mine yesterday or Monday. But anyway,
what is it called?
It's
Remarkable.
called Remarkable.
Remarkable 2.
Remarkable.
Okay.
But I said, I need you to put up a diagram that literally shows every, I guess not literally, it would be figuratively. It would be literally figuratively. Figuratively on this, where does the money sit when I pay, exactly the scenario I just walked you through, from me paying someone to them sending money to their friend. I want to see all the different ways that money is sucked out of your world as happens, as you move it.
Most of them are called suspension accounts. and literally the money is suspended between two transactions. It's in a place where it can be used to generate interest income for the institution, either the sending institution or the receiving one, doesn't matter.
Or both.
At one point, the highest source of earnings for the broker-dealer industry was earnings on cash from an overnight standpoint, where they would promise to pay tomorrow. They'd take the money from your account, just like if you use electronic banking. They're processing your payment today. It'll get to the recipient in 2 days. And so the bank is going to take it into their own account, sit on it for 24 hours minimum, earn interest on that, send it to the other bank who will sit on it overnight and earn interest, and then they'll credit it to your account at the end of the following business day. That's where all the money's going. It's friction.
Isn't it the same model Hex uses? Just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh boy.
It's all float. Float is the
that
key.
is, that is a great point, Dan. Thank you. The other thing I was going to finish with my point on this was, by the end of discussing and thinking it through, I wondered if Visa and MasterCard, not necessarily shorts, because they're great companies, dominant, but I wonder if there is there's some monopoly that needs to be busting up, duopoly that needs to have some disruption happening to it, and that is happening. That is known as Robinhood and Coinbase.
They're all anti-competitive. They're anti-competitive. They do everything they can to not allow new entrants into the game. They control, and if you want to see it at the nth degree, you look in Canada where MasterCard and Visa, there's a couple of banks that control MasterCard and Visa access in Canada. They're not independent. The banks have the licenses, 2 banks, and they determine what other institutions get to use it. And when American Express Bank tried to go into Canada 20 years ago, they were blocked. They weren't allowed to get retail branches. They weren't allowed to do anything because the banks that were there said, no, we don't want any more competition. And they were forced to just be a credit card issuer with a branch that could handle traveler's checks. It's that way in the US, only it's a bigger playing field with more competitors, but they still have the same walls up to not allow competition to come in and start eating from their source. They control the top of the pyramid where all the money gets made, and down below they let people fight for scraps.
And thus again, like this is segue. Thanks, Dan. That segues us perfectly back to crypto and the promise of crypto, that there are no walls. It's blockchain. It's open and transparent, and whatever fees you might be spending when you send some money around or something, there's so much competition from Binance and Ethereum for our SKTL token that we were able to find somewhere that. You can buy $10,000 of a SKTL token. It'll cost you $4 in commission, 0.004%, which is
not for long.
On Wall Street, that's not going to make you any money.
Not for long. I think it's only a matter of time before all of that advantage gets taken away. And it'll be the banks at the front of the pack who want the handcuffs put on crypto. And it'll be the securities regulators who are going to want the handcuffs put on. So
all in the name of protecting me.
Oh, yeah. Well, and by the way, on the space side of that, so I'm part of the Space Finance Committee working group that meets once a month. And there's a big movement afoot right now at the SEC. And I've mentioned this before about trying to change the individual investors' access to what are perceived to be riskier investments, like space startups, as one prime example. And so what they're talking about now is dramatically increasing the requirements for accredited investors. So to be an accredited investor, you may have to have 2 or 3 times the qualification level that you have now to be an accredited investor and get access to some of these private equity, VC related investments in the name of protecting people from buying risky startups.
And then you can go to a crowdfunding website and blow yourself up anyway.
They're going to grab those too. They're going to grab the crowdfunding sites.
I don't know about that one, Dan. There was such a push, and there is so much lobbying behind the regulation CF, as they call it. Yep. I'm sure they'll tweak it to their advantage, but I bet it'll still be here. Crowdfunding is not going away.
It's something that the SEC is very loud about, and there's congressional support. No one's pushing back because it's one of those topics where you don't want to be either side. You can look bad if you make too much noise. You're against protecting investors. The blue hair crowd.
You're against poor people making money in a revolution startup?
No, poor people shouldn't be taking risk. They should just be giving the money to Uncle Sam to manage.
Yeah. Only rich people should be able to risk their money.
Yeah, that's their view. That's their view.
Freedom.
It's exactly their view.
Freedom be damned. We protect rich people, not poor people. That's the United States. Frankly, the United States, as we often talk about, is the best system. It's still got its problem. It's still corrupt. As you'll see in the transcript I'm about to send out on Trading with Cody, someone was asking me about investing in China. And the point I made today about that was that in China, you know, the despots who run China are not motivated purely by money. Power and politics is a bigger motivator for them in China.
Yes.
Whereas in the United States, for all of our Republican Democrat regime corruption, it is driven by the mighty dollar and giant corporations trying to make more dollars. So it's not a good system, but if you're trying to make money,
but China knows,
a place where money is what drives everything.
China knows that while it might be about power and everything else, money is what buys you power. And China understands that, and that's how they've managed to manipulate the U.S. They're throwing a lot of money at people here, and it's been working, whether it's universities or anybody else. So they understand the power of money.
Hey, Bryce, make a note. Let's reach out to China and see if we can't get an investment in our hedge fund from them.
Yeah, the sovereign fund will be happy.
They're throwing money around. Let's get some of it. I'm kidding. I don't even have any institutional money. I'm not taking China money. Money from the communist regime in China.
That would not be smart. No. There's also a thing that's coming up that we're going to get a draft of the end of this week called the Space Industrialization Act of 23. This is something that this group I'm part of has been working on to put forward this act. And there's a lot of congressional support building in the House, and there are senators that are going to start to line up. But part of this is to push back against this notion that the FAA should be the one regulating space from the standpoint of the government, because they seem to think they can do whatever they want. And constitutional lawyers have told us that technically, when you look at the way the FAA was structured, it could be interpreted as being completely independent of the government. And so there's a push here to try to make sure that they get roped in and that they're not allowed to be the ones making decisions about space commerce. It should be the Department of Commerce and then, you know, Space Force on the military side and a civil space group, commercial space group.
Tell me the name of it one more, Dan. It took me that long to.
Space Industrialization. Space Industrialization Act of 2023. That's the working name now. So,
thank you.
And the other thing I'll just say is, I don't know if I know Sanatsi and we were discussing this before we came on. I posted a great article to the SKTLs Slack channel on a new debris report that came out of ESA and Malaga, Spain, the university there, talking about 131.5 million pieces of debris of a centimeter or greater, and how, you know, it's like the open seas. It's going to be a mess up there. No one's going to play by any rules. They're going to abuse it. There's a nice image of the debris, by the way. And near the end of that article, they also ran a simulation of a space war where 250 satellites get destroyed right there. Yep. And it's another 25.5 million fragments that would be created with a space war of just 250 satellites out of the 6,000 or 7,000 that are up there today. So it's not getting better anytime soon.
It really is. It is one of the single biggest threats to the advancement of mankind. Space debris. Space debris, the potential of space debris disrupting our ability to send satellites and have communications and GPS is amazing. We're certainly it would disrupt us from going to the moon or Mars or becoming interplanetary. 100 years from now, if we haven't done something to solve this problem, the tragedy of the commons is that, and not just the tragedy of the commons. We often talk about this, Dan. Maybe you'll hit on it again. That, you know, Iran, Russia, China, the risk reward of blowing up 250 U.S. or Starlink satellites, that would be a major disruption, and it wouldn't cost them what, you know, a war would.
The only thing it does is it drags the U.S. back. Most of those countries are already still in the Stone Age. So,
right. But that would be good.
That brings the U.S. back to the pack is the only objective, to slow us down and give, China especially, and, Russia, if it ever survives, an opportunity to move ahead. But the reality is the real problem with the debris is low Earth orbit. It's keeping us from building an economy in low Earth orbit. It's not going to stop us from getting to the moon. We can fly through there without seeing any debris. There's plenty of room. It's low Earth orbit. We can get out to middle Earth orbit or medium Earth orbit, or we can go out to geo and get out there and be fine. And we can go to Mars. It's not like we're going to be driving through a wall of garbage trying to leave the street. It's bad for anything we want to do in low Earth orbit, which is pretty much everything right now. Earth observation, defense communications, new telecommunications, all that stuff is an issue. There was an article in Space News this morning talking about the radio noise of the LEO satellite constellations like Starlink and others hampering radio astronomy.
Dan, we were looking at laser ground to space technology. China started playing with it. Starlink.
China just had their successful test of laser.
Can you talk a little bit about that? The potential. Let's set the stage, even if you would. What it actually is.
Well, they're using light. Laser is light, and nothing's faster than light. So
I like to say it's like they call it free space optics when you do it around a city without fiber optics. And so it's sort of like the same thing that it's the same technology you use to send fiber optic communications through fiber optics minus the fiber optic cable.
This is laser light. And so they went from a satellite down to Earth using laser light to communicate. They got a 10 gig per second link, and were able to download basically the equivalent of a high def full length movie in 1 second. That's basically the equivalent. This is going to be the new form of communications because you have to be able to move data quickly. Nothing's faster than light. And so using light to transmit versus radio waves, which we use right now, it's like 10,000 times faster than a standard KU band satellite, communication that we use today. So,
and it also eliminates it. While there will be, you create laser pollution or something, light pollution. It's point to point, so it's not like you can see the beam being shot or something. But there are what you mentioned earlier. There is a radio problem. Like if we keep throwing more and more satellites using radio technology, eventually there is too much noise in there. And we don't mean radio like listening to AM, FM.
No, but when you listen on those wavelengths, you will hear static. You will hear transmission sounds for sure. That's the noise, but it interferes because it depends on the wavelength the radio astronomers are using to listen. And there's plenty of room, but the more noise you get, the more interference. The more interference, the less crisp the astronomy is that you can do. It's like having an atmosphere in the way of an optical telescope. It's the same thing.
Has any of you guys ever seen a science fiction movie that had a space debris like we can't visit that planet because it's got too much space debris about that? I don't think I've ever seen that. I've seen a million space
Gravity was the biggest.
Okay, Gravity, but literally the movie was about Earth having like in Star Wars, you never show up on Tatooine and you're like, well, I mean, Tatooine got blown up and became space debris, I guess. But you didn't show up and be like, what was it?
Alderaan.
Yeah, Princess Leia's home planet. Thank you.
Hometown.
So yeah, but they blew up Alderaan and it became space debris. But I think that'd be sort of interesting, like on some space movie, you're like, we can't visit that planet because it surrounded itself with space debris.
Well, they would be as primitive. They would be as primitive as we are.
That's what I was going to say.
The planet would debris.
Yeah, they'd be like, we can't visit there, but it's okay. They're all primitive anyway.
Yeah.
All right, questions or comments? We got 3 minutes left.
Another telescope went up. ESA telescope, Euclid, that got launched on a Falcon. That's going to be about 1.5 million miles out at Lagrange point 2. That's gonna be looking at dark energy and dark matter. That's the kind of research it's going to do. So that'll be a big one. There'll be some really cool stuff.
ZZ Top would call that town Lagrange.
Yeah. Lagrange.
You know what that song's about? Anybody here know what Lagrange is actually about?
Nope.
It's a whorehouse. There was a whorehouse in Lagrange.
There's a note to end on.
Yeah. That's what the song's about. You said Lagrange. I was like,
in the house of the rising sun. Yeah, that's right.
There you go. I guess that too. It's a recurring theme in rock and roll, I suppose.
So
cocaine in the green room and whorehouse at the end.
I think there's a town called Lagrange in Georgia. So I'll look at it and try to find out information about it.
The ZZ Top song's about Lagrange, Texas. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sorry, Cabana, I added the correct information to add Binance Smart Chain into the private chat. If you want to copy and paste it, you can. By the way, Skytles.com seems to be down. So I looked at my notes and I basically got the information from my notes.
It's probably the Chinese blocking it.
Yeah. And also the Wikipedia published the space related activity from July through December. Piper and I were worried about not having that information to calculate the monthly reward. So it is published now.
Good.
And I sent the link to Piper.
So Nazi, thank you for doing that. And would you mind reaching out to Daniel / Chen? Is it John Chen? John, what's John?
Yeah, hey, I don't have.
If you don't mind, will you just shoot Daniel a text message and be like, "Hey, our site's down." I think it's John Chen, right? That's our buddy.
Yeah, I don't think it's Daniel. It's John Chen, but I'm not sure if I have his his contact info.
Fine, I'll do it. Hey Siri.
No, I'm searching.
Send John Chen a text message that says, "I think our website is down again, my friend."
To John Chen.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, there you go.
Here's that article. I'll post the link.
It's awesome. ESA stands for European Space Agency.
Yep.
Like NASA stands for North American Space Agency.
No.
Joking. Kidding.
Not North America. The Canadians have their own little outfit.
I know. Just kidding you. And Mexico too, right? It's North American.
Well.
Yeah. Technically? No? Or is it Central America?
It's North American.
Okay. I leave you all. You know what? Let's do this. I'm going to grab this picture of made me think of it. I'm going to share my screen here. The other day, yesterday, Maris's favorite thing in the world right now is saying, "Hey Siri, call my wife," or whatever. I turned it off so it won't. And soon as you say that out loud, doesn't matter how mad she is, it doesn't matter what the heck's going on, she starts looking like this. Hold on, share present, share screen. Amaris laughing out loud. Share. Look at that. That's her. You say, "Hey Siri," and that's the reaction. Bryce, confirm. Yes. Dude, it is the funnest. It is so much fun to make her laugh like that. Look at that's my in-laws. They're both cracking up. That's Bryce's dad.
That's great.
Yeah. Bryce's dad and Bryce's grandmother, which is also Amaris's grandmother. So, sweet love and peace and happiness to all of you. If you ever get upset, just pull up that picture of Amaris. It's on tradingwithcody.com. We'll put it on the homepage. We'll make you smile.
Thanks for sharing that.
John Chen just wrote back and said he will log in. He's driving right now. I will log in and take a look in about 15 minutes. Now, that is some good volunteer work right there.
Pull over.
Great.
Come on, John. What are you doing? As always, I thank you guys, all of you, for watching, if you're watching, and I especially thank the board of volunteers, or whatever we call ourselves on here. Cabana, you're the best host. Dan, you are just a font of space knowledge and insights and fun. Sanatsi, you're a very good support. Joe Anderson wasn't here last week, so I'm giving him no credit. And Bryce, thanks for being a good friend and helping me out over here. Just kidding you, Joe. You're awesome. You do a great job for us all the time. I still have
you know what? I didn't hear any of that because my things were going. So until
never mind,
Joe.
I totally threw you under the bus and you didn't even hear it to enjoy it.
I didn't even hear it. Now I got to go rewatch it later.
Yes.
It's not that exciting, but I'm glad you didn't hear me tease.
Oh, well, I would watch it. I would watch it.
I gave all compliments to everybody but you, and then I was like, "Yeah, you weren't even here last week, so you
like,
got nothing."
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Nah, man, you're best. Thank you guys, each of you, for being here. Appreciate your time and energy. I'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Take care.
See you next week, everybody.
Right.